Salutations and welcome. Gonna fix the camera here. Welcome to the first, technically the first full episode of the RP Gamer Experience. I am your host, Phil, aka JCServant from RPGamer.com, and this is the RP Gamer Experience, where we talk about computer and console games that not a lot of people are talking about right now, from old favorites to new indies and a few things in between. We're going to be tonight. We're going to be going through the experience that Operencia the Stolen Sun has to offer us. If this is your first time here to the show, RGPXP is an interactive show. At least if you're watching us live on Twitch. If you're catching us after the fact at YouTube, there's a different way to interact. Here on Twitch, you can interact with me in real time by jumping into the chat, and as I'm going through the game and going through my notes and stuff about the game, sharing my things with you, you're more than welcome to jump in, ask questions, bring up your points, and I will work them into the show at the appropriate times. If you're catching this after the fact on YouTube, of course, you're always welcome to jump on down into the comments section or hit me up into Twitter, and we will do our best to get to you afterwards. But the cool thing about Twitch, we can do this in real time. If you join us here on Monday nights, 9 p.m., every other Monday for the show, and the Mondays in between, we're always doing Let's Play. So there's always something going on here at Twitch at RP Gamer on Monday nights. But you, the audience, are part of the experience, the RP Gamer Experience, right here on Twitch. And tonight we're talking about Operencia, the Stolen Sun. So let's get that guy pulled up here. Because look at that, I got this guy got pretty screen all ready to go and everything. Operencia the Stolen Sun was initially released, I believe, on December 8th, 2018. Developed and published by Zen Studios. You can find Operencia the Stolen Sun on the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and on Microsoft Windows. I personally am playing this through the Epic launcher. I can't remember if it was like a free game of the week. They like to do those, or what. And I didn't double check to see. I believe it is on Steam. I have written here my notes as $12 to $30 because I think a full price you get it for $30, but they had a Steam sale that's probably ending like now. They had it down to $12, so you could always put it on your wish list if you want to try to grab it on sale. This is a turn-based first-person DRPG, as we like to call it, a dungeon crawling RPG with an emphasis on puzzles, and that's what it is. And I'd like to go a little bit into the introduction as far as what the publisher tells us about it. What is Operencia the Stolen Sun? They would tell you Zen Studios' modern homage to classic first-person dungeon crawlers takes you to the land of Operencia, an unconventional fantasy world inspired by faraway land references and countless Central European folk tales. An old school turn based battle system combines with inspiration from unexplored mythology to offer an RPG experience that feels unique and also familiar. The story is about an unknown force that has abducted Sun King Nepkurali, leaving Operencia in a state of perpetual darkness and eventual doom. From hidden royal tombs and cursed castles to an ascent up the world tree to reach the copper forest of the land of the gods, explore diverse settings throughout the far reaches of the land and beyond. Each location boasts its own unique atmosphere, visual style, level design, and puzzles, and many take place completely outdoors. So that's kind of the introduction, the setup, the layup, and here at the RP Gamer Experience, I like to take a little time and actually take you through some of the game. I mean, the first thing that strikes you before you even get going here is just the beautiful visuals. They're absolutely gorgeous. It's a gorgeous game, and and it's got great music. For the most part, great voice acting. There's a couple of voice actors they got on the team that no, they actually are really kind of bad, and they stand out as bad because they've got, for the most part, a great cast who's really awesome. So there's this contrast. I'm not a voice acting uh, critiquer, so to speak. I'm happy just to have voice acting most of the time, but there are some people who are definitely stand out more than others. Yeah, it is. But well voice acted, great written story in this game, and we're going to jump into it here and show you some of the gameplay up close. So you kind of know what you're getting into. Not just a bunch of my opinions. You're jumping into the experience with me right here at RPGamer. If you're just joining us well on Twitch, welcome. We really appreciate having you here. And let me just jump in and see where we're at and kind of go over some things. Show you how the game kind of works. So it is a first-person dungeon crawler, and you got this free flow looking ability when you're in the dungeon. They're very well designed. I love the looks of whether it's I'm in an old-fashioned dungeon at the moment, but as the thing says, there's a lot of different settings. You might be in a forest over in the land. You might be in a castle above ground, or working your way through something even more mystical. But the movement itself is 90-degree angle, as it tends to be with some of the more traditional dungeon crawlers. And that kind of got me at first. It's something I had to get used to, was walking in a different direction from where I'm looking with my mouse. I don't know why, but the control took just about 20 minutes, maybe less, to kind of get used to. Um, and the such. One of the things I do like is that when it comes to interactive objects, as you saw here with the door and with the coins, you just look around and it lights up pretty quick. You're not trying to find tiny little details. It's not a point and click adventure where you're trying to find obscure little details at all. With that said, you still need to pay attention to your environments, because there are puzzles and environmental puzzles that rely on you remembering where certain things are at. Looks like we might have a bad guy up there, which would be a good place to get into the combat. But before we do that, let's take a look at our party here. You eventually get more than 4 party members. I got 4 on here. You start off with just a couple, and you work your way up from there. And you can swap out, party members in your rest areas. I tend to run with these guys here. And there is an equipment system. I feel like this could have been organized a little better, but it's basic stuff. You got your stuff you're going to equip. It's going to help you out your offense and your defense stats. The stats system in this game, not super deep, so you don't have to spend a whole lot of time trying to read about all these different statuses and status resistances and complicated math. For the most part, there's just a couple of numbers, and higher numbers means good, and you don't have to dig too deep into that. As you're looking through, different items, it's very easy for me to look at the top as I mouse over them and see how they improve or detract from my character's offense, defense, or their magical attack. Then you have Yale inventory, which seems to be, for the most part, pretty bottomless, but a lot of different things too. You can sort that easily enough by whatever. It looks like I haven't sold anything for a while because I got a whole bunch of stuff sitting in there, but there is a way to sell that in camp. You got your Yale quest journals and a very comprehensive guide right here that helps you through the game. So if you're ever stuck and you can't remember how to do something, all that information is right there, built into the game for you. You really won't feel the need to go run to an FAQ because you don't know or understand how to play the game, because it's all right there. With that being said, you might need to be running to an FAQ for everything, such as how to solve puzzles and whatnot, because the puzzles can be a little tricky, and if you're not a puzzly person, let me tell you, you're going to struggle a bit with this one without jumping to an FAQ. I definitely had to FAQ some of the later dungeons in the game here. So, but you do got a nice map, a nice auto mapping system, and it's pretty detailed. You kind of a bit of a bummer. I can't. You can place markers, but you can't really leave a lot of notes on there. So you're gonna want to have a notepad handy. But the map does a pretty good job of showing you most of what you need to know as you're going across. It's automatically doing that for you. There's also a couple of other mechanics at play, but those are just kind of your basic overview right there. Oh, and I forgot to show you. We'll go back to the characters for a second here. As soon as I can pull up the character screen. Ah. Okay. Hey, suddenly I'm drawing a big mind blank. You would think it'd be C for character. I thought it was C for character. And now I can't. Is it P for party? There we go, P for party. Anywho, I started going through this and I got sidetracked. After equipment, you have your talents, and you can redistribute these at any point. Hit this big button right here, respec. You have active and passive skills you can pick here, and here's where you can see all those stats. I mentioned before you don't have to worry. Maybe I was there as far as these derivative stats go. They are there. I just, for the most part, I didn't feel the need to really dive into them really deep in order to succeed in the game. It pretty much is look at the numbers up here, give me a pretty good indication of how I was going to do. So that's that part.
The sacred sanctuary of Balvanyosh.
Want you to see some of the voice acting here.
Ancient elemental.
The sanctuary's protectors placed the ancient elemental here to vanquish anyone who dares to trespass.
Including trespassers like us.
Yes.
So you see, very beautiful presentation and some good voice acting there. Let that kind of play out. Probably not the most impressive monster design there, though. But it's a boss. Oh, well, that's lovely. It was right next to a boss when I last saved. Well, this will be fun and interesting. So we can see kind of the combat. I love how you got initiative and just automatically just knocks everyone down for a whole bucket ton of hit points. But hey, what are you going to do? So we have each of the characters has basic attack, a melee attack, a ranged attack. There's not really characters in the front for us. It isn't like you get to put your characters in the front and back, but the monsters will sometimes be hiding behind each other. So range attacks will be better suited if you're trying to get those guys in the back first. Guarding here will give you a defensive bonus for a couple of turns and regenerate some of your energy. So there is something to be said for that. But we will shifts immunity. Oh, he's an ancient elemental who shifts his immunity. So you never know what you're going to get with that guy. He's immune to poison, for example. We'll see if he stays immune to poison. But and my rogue guy here does quite a bit of damage when he wants to. But you got, like I said, you got different skills here. Including Shadow Strike and Backstabbing. We like to backstab our enemies and do some damage to them. Here's our wizard, who the main character I made into a wizard and spec'd her mostly into fire, but again, you can respec out of that if you need to. And there's one in particular. This one does fire damage until they die. This one decreases their fire resistance as well as doing some damage on the upfront. I like to start off with that. Unless, of course, he's immune, because then it's kind of a waste of a turn. You don't have a front line, but you do have a taunting mechanic with one or two of the characters that can be used to help draw the monster's attack away from your wizard. And sometimes that works great, and other times it does not. I really feel like this guy's pretty much immune to all elemental attacks, which kind of takes away from some of the strategy here if I can't get through with elemental attacks. Because that is pretty much all my wizard does is elemental attacks, and she's usually the main source of damage in the group. So it definitely makes things really interesting when your people are only doing 1 point of damage per hit outside of her. That can make for a really long boss fight. No bueno. Okay. Of course, sometimes the bosses can be a bit of a puzzle in and of themselves. So, yeah, I'm not actually doing a whole lot of damage to him. Getting 2 here, 1 here. Not so great. We'll go ahead and heal her up. And we'll give it a try and try fire again. Nope, immune. Says he shifts immunities. I was kind of hoping he shift right out of it. But it's not like he seems to be... Oh, I was going to say, it's not like he was hitting a lot and then you just kind of hit everybody there. we're going to load an earlier save game, show you a different environment, and not spend the next 20 minutes of the show going back and forth to the boss we're not doing a lot of damage to. Well, this was another dungeon that I had done earlier. This is actually the tomb and crypt of one of the bosses. Now, one of the things of the queen, of the ancient queen, one of the interesting things about the game is the enemies. You'll be able to see them when they're on the map, like we did before. And once you wipe them out, they don't respawn. So you don't have to worry about, um, things coming back because you're exploring. There's no Shatterway random encounters. You see the monsters on the screen as you're going through there. So it's very convenient. When you're just walking around just exploring. But as you can see, very well designed and colored um, dungeons here. Just be really careful around these mushrooms, though. They will hurt you, and they will hurt a lot. I just want to kind of show off some of the design of the dungeon and just, how well the graphics look here. You also got a couple of skills down there. You see on the F and G key in the lower right-hand corner. Well, my picture's kind of covering some of that up. F lets you dig in the ground. Oops. And if there's any buried treasure, it'll tell you where the treasure's at. And G will, see, he'll say nearest chest is 16 meters. And then you walk a couple of steps. Hit it again. Oh, looks like I was getting colder there. Hit it again over here. And you get kind of like this idea of that you're getting closer, you're getting warmer, you're getting colder as you're looking for the chest. Sometimes you'll hit some of these parts of the dungeon where you can't seem to progress towards it. You might see, like, over here would be a great example. I can go over there. You might see a lake or a body of water that you can't quite get across. And you don't know of how you're going to get across there. And what the game wants you to do is you will get skills later on that help you to transverse that particular obstacle. So you'll want to come back and get across that. I'm going to take a look here, just see where I'm at. It's kind of sometimes I get lost in mazes if they don't have maps. The grid-based combat, or the grid-based map here does remind me of older pen and paper role-playing games where I would draw the maps on a grid paper as I was working through my way through those old games. Thankfully, for the most part, they all have auto mapping these days. Very helpful. So you can see here, I can't move any forward here on the keyboard, but there is a body of water, a magical thing going on there, and I can see a chest right across there. So that means, there's a skill that I need to get across that, or a magic spell or something. So I want to make a note of that and come back later. So it definitely helps to do a little bit of backtracking. I'll jump back over here for a second and see if we can find a non-boss encounter. So we can kind of show off. I've explored a lot of this dungeon. It's a rather big dungeon too. And see if we can find something that isn't quite, find out something that isn't so deadly. Secret fat. Oh, and there's secrets all over the place, of course, and you'd expect that. The game will definitely ring up if you run into a secret like I just did. And let you know, hey, you found something. And at the end of the dungeon, it'll show you on the map how many... Oh, is that a monster? See that little tail right there? Why, yes, it is a monster. All right, here we go. Hey, Chaos CVC, pleasure to see you. So now we'll get to see like a more normal non-boss encounter. So again, you can have different people in your parties, and they have different, skills and focuses. But there is definitely a bit of a focus on elemental damage, as some monsters will be more susceptible than others to certain elemental damage. So you want to pay attention to that when that applies. But are there giant spiders? Oh, Moogle, you do know this game does in fact love its giant spiders, because Moogle watched me fight the giant spiders, and Moogle knows how I feel about the giant spiders because I have opinions about the giant spiders. And oh boy, do I have opinions about the giant spiders. But the rogue here, he's got his own skill set. He's kind of the jack of all trades. He's more like a hero adventurer because he's got some magic. He's got Shadow Strike, but he's also got some healing. He's got a little bit of everything there. Well, it's just gonna hurt everybody a little bit. But I really love this Firestorm spell. This is the ultimate spell from the Fire Tree, which does some initial damage but continues to burn and burn and burn and burn and burn. Lots and lots of enemies. One of the things I like about the game is, first of all, especially if you're using a good monitor, the colors just bleed off the screen. You really, I mean, I almost feel like I could roast marshmallows to the fire that these guys are on. Um, it is so beautiful. It's got the sparks. They took a lot of care and detail in the monster design and in the special effects, the lighting and all that other jazz. But that's not all. You'll see these guys as they're attacking me. It feels like it's coming right at the screen. Some of these are more 3D than others, but I can't even imagine this game with a VR headset because it's pretty intense. It really is. Um, as you kind of see the guys kind of burn. Oh, whoa. Did he just resurrected? Oh, the shaman resurrected him. So that kind of brings up. Now, I will say one thing about the combat. Once you played it a while, the combat becomes pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of strategy, for the most part. So, but sometimes you do get these guys where, hey, maybe I should kill the guy in the back first who's, resurrecting everybody else and stuff. Our favorite, speaking of giant spiders, and I say this sarcastically, my favorite is the spiders that are
Sometimes I
running
wish
low
I
on
excelled at
health.
things other than taking life.
Sometimes you get a little talking there at the end. But the little spider eats another spider, and he heals up and somehow becomes a bigger spider, and that's scary and should never be allowed in video games. Um, but there we go. Quick little dungeon fight there, and you got some treasure at the end for looking for hidden passages. So there's a lot of exploration. You like exploration? You've got exploration. Um, just definitely a ton of it here as we kind of go around looking. Oh, gross. Oh, yeah, no, Moogle. The spiders, they eat each other. So this was a puzzle that I had to work through, and I won't lie, I had to FAQ some of these puzzles. If you're really good at puzzles, you really love puzzles. I think for the most part they're pretty well designed. But if you're not good at puzzles, like I'm not, I think what's a little disappointing, something that's a negative for me anyways, is I'm not a big fan of puzzles that if I can't figure it out, it stops my progress in the game altogether. And that is definitely here. You will have to have an FAQ nearby if you're bad with these puzzles because they will stop your forward momentum and progress in the game dead in its tracks. Dead in its tracks. I'm more of a fan of a puzzles that, hey, if you open it, you get something special, or if you figure out the puzzle, you get something extra without actually stopping my game. So, just notice there's a chest right there. But at least it doesn't have those, did you find every single little, hidden item or object book. So that's always nice. Let me just take one moment here and flip over to the main cam here because it is time for a commercial break. Today's game is brought to you by Monster Hunter. Okay, that no one really sponsors us. These are just I use like commercial breaks to give shout outs to games I really like. I've been a fan of Monster Hunter since Monster Hunter 4 on the 3DS is when I jumped in. I went back and played some 3 with my good friend Michael Apps. But he was the one who helped me out a lot when I was getting started in the series, and then Monster Hunter World came out, and it's just really awesome and great, and people still playing it today. It's a really fun game. I got the steel case book here for my for my PlayStation 4 game, and it's got good old fashioned Nergigante here on the back. Is that Nergigante? Whatever, big bad. I think it's Nergigante. just wants to tear you up. So well done. Monster's so well done. The reason why I'm bringing up Monster Hunter, though, isn't to try to get you all to play Monster Hunter World, but to talk a little bit about Monster Hunter Rise that's coming out in 3 months. And the reason why I'm bringing all that up is usually I talk about old games on this show and not newer games, is because Monster Hunter Rise is coming to the Switch in 3 months. But we are playing Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate right now on the Switch on Friday nights. So if you want to join, go over to our Discord channel. We have a Monster Hunter channel set up. Let me know, and we'll get you involved in those. We are usually doing those around 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We're all just playing. We're not streaming. It's just hanging out, having fun, and doing some hunts and multiplayer. We're on 2-star right now. So if you want to come join us, let me know. But we're all kind of getting ready for Monster Hunter Rise, which is really, really exciting. So there you go. There's your quick shout out, your commercial break for the minute, just to break up some of the action there with a little Monster Hunter, right? Um, Final Fantasy X Cloister of Trials, Monkas. What I feel like you're trying to say something there. Back to our Operencia here. This is the section of the show where after that I like to give you 5 tips for this game, 5 hot tips, 5 tips for playing Operencia, the Stolen Sun. And I'm gonna do my best not cheat and say one of them should be go grab the FAQ. Um, again, if you're bad at puzzles, I'm just saying no. No. We have 5 real tips here to help you if you're new to the game, or maybe if you're an old veteran. It might be something that helps you out. But first and foremost, tip number 1 for the game is take notes. You want to take notes because there is a lot going on in these dungeons, and while the maps do show you a lot, again, there's just going to be certain things you're going to come across that the map isn't going to take note of. So you're going to want to make sure that you get those things written down. So make sure you take notes. Number 2, use your skill points. So if we take a look at our party here, in most of these games that I play, I tend to hoard my talent points because I've been burned so many times by RPGs where you spend your talent points, like you go into the fire tree here. This is the fire tree, and then you find out all the monsters are immune to fire. I had that happen like Diablo 2. It just chaps my hide. Well, because in those games, in order to respec, there's usually a high cost, or you have to start a new character. Well, thankfully for you in Operencia the Stolen Sun, you can respec any time, and that means your attributes and your talent points. You can go in here, hit this button anytime, and respec those guys. So make use of that. There was one dungeon I was in where it was a fire monster, then an ice monster, fire. I switched her out every time between the opposite elements so she could do maximum damage. You can do that. Use it and abuse it. That's what it's there for. Number 3, watch your gear closely. A few points of gear can make the difference. The game's pretty, at least on the standard difficulty, some of the fights get really, 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 really close. So a few points of difference can really make the difference. If you watch my Let's Play, there was one boss battle literally came down to my wizard having just 1 hit point left and everyone else was KO'd. So every point of stat makes a difference. So make sure that you're keeping on top of your items and weighing their cost and benefits very carefully, because the gear can make a big difference. Another thing is, here's the stat points. But one thing I'll point out here is, this seems almost counterintuitive, but this is my rogue right here. Don't be afraid to put a bunch of points into strength. Again, you can redistribute this anytime, but I was thinking, oh, let me put a bunch of points into agility because he's a rogue and he's supposed to be faster and stuff. Really, that works really great for the archer. But for the rogue guy in your party, and this is like the second guy you get, Joska, I have found out that strength. And this happened because one of the first, I was putting his points in agility for the most part, and then one of the first bosses, second boss, third boss, whatever it was, kept kicking my rear end. So after like the 4th reload, I said, let me do something completely different, because the definition of insanity, keep doing the same thing, expect a different result. So I took his points, I respect him, put a lot of points in strength, because one of the things I noticed is I just wasn't doing a lot of damage to the enemy. And sure enough, was night and day. So yeah, I'm going to get hit a little bit more often because I have less agility, and I'm probably going to hit a little bit less often because I don't have the same range. But yeah, it makes a huge difference. And it kind of makes sense when you kind of notice that when you mouse over this, the ranged is what lights up. Critical chance lights up. Counterattack lights up. But melee hit it lights up when you do strength. And when at the end of the day, he's more of a melee guy. So that's a hot. Let me tell you, that's a hot pro tip right there. I had to figure that one out myself. And your last tip, tip number 5, is backtrack. Backtrack. Now, to make most efficient use of your time, I suggest, as I mentioned before, that you take notes as you hit certain walls in the puzzles and such. Um, that way, you know which dungeons to go back to and where as you open up new skills. Because if we hold down the Alt key here, I actually have different skills that I've opened up. And there's more that you open up as you play. This is a different save game in the middle, but there's more that you open up here. And these puzzles, like the Stoneheart, can rebuild bridges that were collapsed long ago. So in the earliest dungeon, you'll find a bridge that collapsed, go back to it, use the Stoneheart, and you'll get it back up and going, and you'll find some extra treasure, and you'll be rewarded for it. Okay? And before we end this segment, I'm gonna throw in one more bonus tip, and that is turn up the sound. I play a lot of games without sound in the past. I'm watching YouTube. I'm got company around, whatever. Put on some headphones and turn up the sound because it's real. The voice acting especially, you do not want to miss on the voice acting. But there's some really good soundtrack items in here as well. So I highly recommend you turn up the sound. Let yourself get immersed in this game without the other distractions, and you will enjoy it more. Pay attention to the text, listen to the dialogue, and just let the game envelop you. And you'll definitely get a bit further with it. I think you'll get much more out of it, right? Let's see here. Yes, respec is such a good feature. I know, right? I do wish that more games had it. I know that with some of the RPGs, they want to set this expectation that you make a decision, you lock into it as part of RPGs, especially old school RPGs. But being an older person who doesn't have a lot of time to sit there and rebuild different character builds and try to run them through, I appreciate the ability to just change it on the fly and not have to do a second playthrough or something or start all the way over. Um, oh, comment here. Immerse yourself in the sound of one spider gorging itself on another. Stop that, Moogle Lectomancer. Maybe it isn't such a good idea that the show is interactive. Naughty, Moogle, naughty. We're trying to focus on the positive here. We're trying to focus on the positive. Yeah, yeah, I have to say, when the spiders are on the screen, they're spitting acid. I wish I had I don't think I had a save game right before the spiders, but I kind of wish I did, because I just love to show you guys the spider that just. No, I wouldn't do that to you. Come on now, come on, man. I wouldn't do that to you. Um, I got some comments here. So one of the things that you can do is you can join us on our Twitch page. You see it down there at the bottom, rpgamer.com. I'm just Twitch. Our Discord server. You can join us on our Discord server. We have a channel set up called the RGPXP server or channel where we're talking about these games that are going to be on the RGPXP. Plus, I live stream a playthrough of most of them as well. There's a lot of conversation going on, and you can share with me your thoughts ahead of time, as one of our viewers did, and I'm going to go through those in just a minute. But yeah, you're more than welcome to, and I'll read them right here on the show. And so my very good friend Christian, aka Spare, or I think it's Spare Omris, wrote this about his thoughts regarding the game. He says he says, "What can I say about the game? Let's start with what I did not like about it. The fact that you have to find some obscure secret to progress in the story, like a fake wall, a weird combination of a puzzle to get a key that you need later. It's obviously a bit irritating. My team was not the quickest, and so when I was having a surprise attack, I do all my attacks, and the enemy did have 2 attacks before I could do something again. The fact that the computer abuse of the charm and the confused statuses. Uh, in this state, my character was using the best attack or elixirs. Um, that could cause some problems. I attacked my own character just to fix and get out of that. Um, then the good part, you get 7 characters that you can customize the way you want. You can respec them whenever you want. You can change them to fit the enemies that you're fighting against that level. And the fighting was fun. It's never easy. I will say, like, I'm going to interject here. The numbering system in here There's not a lot of stats. You just saw there's just like three main stats and some basic stats, and there's not a lot of leveling. I think once you already hit like level 10, give or take, you already can max out one of the trees, but there's not a lot of leveling. So I think that enables them to make a really tight game. There's not any grinding opportunity, whatever. So it's a pretty tight game as far as the combat leveling goes. But he said that each new levels keep me on the edge. Sometimes some fight feeling unfair until I change my skills and team around. The story and the characters were interesting. It was fun to see them interact with each other. The game has a lot of puzzles, but I really learned to appreciate them. You can conquer most of them with logic and observation. There's always a clue in the surroundings, and when you do something, you see how it affects everything around you, and then you learn to complete it. It did take him about 30 hours to beat all the way. Used a guide like I did to help in some places because some of the secrets you definitely need to find in order to progress. At first, Christian was not sure if he was going to like it, but did grow on him, and he did have a great time. We received some. At the ending, kind of implies a second game in the series, and I hope it'll be even better. So there you go. Thank you very much for that, Christian. Again, you can come and join us on our Discord server, and you can share your thoughts, and I'll read them right here as part of the show. I'm happy to do that. Let's see here. Before we move on, I also want to remind everybody who's watching today that we do have a brand new Twitch schedule right here on the channel. So season one has just started at the beginning of this year. We have something going on every day of the week. On Mondays, you can see here, you got Lofter and I am playing games. Tuesday, Herfog's playing a game. Lofter's back on Wednesday afternoons, and then we have Q&A quest late at night with Mike Labs, usually playing some Dark Souls or whatnot. Thursday nights, I'm on with one of my Let's Plays. Friday, Scar's playing retro RPGs. Saturday, you have RPG cast during the earlier part of the day, and then I play, at night. And then Sunday we have Stardew Valley Co-op with Scar, and you can actually join in on those games. And Herfrog chills with more RPGs on Sunday afternoon. On top of that, we do have surprise streams. I did a surprise stream last night, and if you want to be part of those, follow us on Twitch or follow us on Twitter at RPGamer or at JCServant, and keep up to date with all of the new surprise stuff that just comes out of nowhere because you just never know. You just never know when that's going to happen. Now, what did what did I think overall of Operencia, the Stolen Sun? First of all, I think if you get the Switch version of this, having this in the palm of your hand will probably be really, really cool because it's a really fun experience. On one hand, I like having it on my computer because I got better monitor and the colors really, really pop out. I will say if you're playing this on the Switch and you're doing it in handheld mode, I have played the Switch. I can tell you, obviously, the whatever monitor they have on that little handheld mode, the LED, LCD, whatever it's called, not the best. Not really great. It's definitely no OLED that you used to have with the original PS Vita. That was a gorgeous display. And some games on that PS Vita screen popped out more than others, like Persona 4 Golden really, really, truly popped out. Operencia because it would be like that because of its high contrast and its high colors. If you're using this on a really good television or if you're playing on the computer on a really good computer screen, you will really appreciate the careful color coordination and the contrast. With that being said, I think having it portable would also be kind of cool because the game form wise, it feels more like a poor, that could be really kind of cool to have that in the palm of your hand. But I guess that's the whole appeal of the Switch anyway. So, or most of the appeal for most people. But what did I think overall? What were my thoughts? Well, we're gonna go over those with the what I like to call the sandwich, right? So the positives, the negatives, and then wrap it up with some positives. The positive, the positive praise sandwich. I love the style of the game. I keep talking about it, but the style, the artwork, the character design, just from a creative standpoint, this is one of the most creative, beautifully drawn games. One of the coolest stories. It draw a lot from folklore, a lot of inspiration from folklore, the background stories and the such. Uh, you definitely feel like you're reading some grim, dark fairy tale type of thing mixed in, with this high fantasy adventure. So that's really cool. The voice acting also really does a great job. I love listening to the banter between the party members. It's so easy to kind of miss out on that when you're dungeon crawling. Again, if you kind of went into dungeon crawl mode, you're like, oh, there's no story to hear. Let me turn off the sound. You could be missing really cool and funny banter between the characters. As far as some negatives, the voice acting and some of the characters miss the mark. I don't even put them in my party. Some of these guys, I mean, they'll still chip in, but there's just some characters I don't know what they just missed out on those. And some of the puzzles, this is just one of my pet peeves. I got to some of those puzzles and I'm just brain dead because I couldn't figure them out. I go back and look up FAQ and I could see where they were going for with the logic, but the puzzle and how to solve it, it just went right over my head, like, phew. And I get frustrated if I have to, spend 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours trying to figure something out, and not being able to do it. That for me is not an awesome thing. The battles can also drag. So I don't know what it is with some of these monsters that have the ability to heal, resurrect, buff each other, but some of it just seems to serve no purpose but to drag out the fights even longer. The animation's really cool. The battle animations have so much time put into them. There's just enough fights though, like because that can make the battles longer, all that animation. But generally speaking, there's just enough fights in there where it doesn't feel like it's long in the tooth until enemies start healing each other. And then you're just like, isn't this fight over yet? I'm going on 3 minutes, 4 minutes for what feels like just a trash mob encounter. And that's because of some of these shenanigans that they pull. And then some of them would have these resurrection abilities, and it becomes a little puzzle in itself because it isn't something as simple as the shaman resurrect the other so you can kill the shaman first. Some of these guys have some weird resurrection abilities where they can resurrect each other, but this one you want to kill him first unless you kill that one first. So I feel like, yeah, I don't need all that in my combat. But overall, I'll end off with this note here. I really do think that this is a great, delightful experience for newer players or players who are newer to dungeon crawling RPGs. Maybe you've never dived into any of the old school ones we're always talking about. Maybe you didn't have a 3DS and didn't get into Etrian Odyssey. Maybe you never played Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey or some of the other big dungeon crawlers that are out there. This is a good one to get your toes dipped into water, especially if you do like puzzles. There's a lot of RP gamers out there who love puzzles in their RPGs, and if you do, everything else about this package is going to win you over. And even if the combat's a bit of a drag at times, the rest of the package will definitely pull you through as it did, for as I mentioned, for Christian and stuff. So, and it's short enough. You can beat this in 20, 30 hours. And most dungeon crawlers, like Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey, I was over 80 hours before I got to the final boss in that game. A lot of dungeon crawlers tend to be pretty long and slow and methodical and just have these huge dungeons. Operencia does a really good job of giving you a really good substantial experience without too much padding outside of monsters that resurrect themselves. Most of it is really tight. So I highly suggest that you check it out if you haven't done so before, or even if you're just a fan of dungeon crawlers, or blobbers as we like to call them. Right, Chaos, call them blobbers. So and on the computer, you're not going to get too many those blobbers that look better than this. I'm hard pressed to even think Legend of Grimrock has its own grimy look, but Operencia just blows me away. So I challenge anybody, if you think that there's a better looking DRPG, let me know. And if you like blobbers, dungeon crawlers, by all means, come and talk with me about it in our Discord channel, and maybe you can help recommend some games that I'll be covering on future Let's Plays and future shows. We'd love to hear from you. So that's about it for Operencia the Stolen Sun. I will tell you, if you're here on Twitch, hang out. for a while afterwards because we're going to be playing some more Child of Light. A reminder to all of you that I stream right here on Twitch Saturdays, Mondays, and Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, doing research for future episodes of the RPG Experience. And this is a production of RPGamer.com, your source for news, reviews, podcasts, and home to the best gaming community on the net. Subscribe right here, or follow us right here on Twitch for future shows. Hit us up on YouTube at RPGamer, etc., and help shape our future. Join the conversation. You can absolutely. Some of these games are chosen by people that are on my docket for the first season that were chosen by our listeners and viewers who helped me answer some questions and guided me in certain directions. Um, Moogle, before we log out here, Moogle asks while we're on the recording, speaking of Grand Rock, does Operencia do mods? I replaced spiders with crabs so I could get through that game. I, you know, I have not heard of that, but then again, I was playing on Epic, which doesn't really, really is not a big thing for mods. Doing a quick search on on Google, I do see there's something called the Helix mod, but I don't know if they replace the spiders with crabs. Um, so there's a little bit of at least an underground modding community going there. Somebody's got something in there for supporting ultra wide monitor resolutions as well. But I'm just looking around here. I don't see a huge modding community. But yeah, there's definitely a couple of underground things out there if you want to look into it. Definitely, definitely. So, our next show, episode 2 of our first season, will take place in 2 weeks. I hope you'll join me on January the 18th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our next RP Gamer Experience Child of Light, which I'll be working through after recording here. You can join me as I play through that one. But yeah, we're definitely having back-to-back gorgeous, visually striking, very creative RPGs there. And again, hang out on the channel if you want to see some more Let's Play. But if not, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Until then, this is your humble servant and adventuring Phil Willis, aka JCServant, signing off.